Eating well on a budget, is that really possible? Oh, absolutely, especially now Gen Z and Millennials are facing some challenges there because they really do want to eat healthier. But here's the thing, sometimes it costs a lot more to eat healthy, but not necessarily. It's going to cost a little bit more, but I want to go through and talk about some things that I think are going to really benefit you when it comes to eating healthier on a budget. As baby boomers, of course, we pretty much learned that growing up because we had a little bit less. I was from a family of 8, so mom learned how to eat on a budget. And some of the things we're going to talk about, she did. But basically, I want to go through and talk about some hacks to just give you some ideas of where to look, and then we're going to talk about some barriers, some solutions, and finally we're going to give you some action steps. So we're hoping this is going to be helpful. So one of the big areas I think is very popular with Gen Z right now, millennials, is plant-based diets and vegan nutrition. So whole foods, of course, plant-based, and of course making things that sometimes you wouldn't think are plant-based, like chicken burgers. Tastes like chicken, but it's not. But there's a lot of plant-based things coming out right now. Here's the thing. I would say, if I was you, a Gen Z or millennial, I would really be reading up on a lot of the plant-based diets out there and plant-based nutrition because there's so much more information. Vegetables, grains, legumes, and the meals, how to incorporate them. Now, here's the thing. There's things right now that we didn't really have, at least it wasn't popular back then. Legumes, tofu, quinoa. All these things are great plant sources for protein. And if you really start learning more about them, how to use them, in cooking, it's going to be fantastic. So I would definitely recommend that. Now, we also would say when you go to shop looking for plant-based foods, go to the store that's got bulk foods, because you can try a small amount of quinoa or a small amount of ancient grains or whatever. You can try all these things. So here's another hack. Healthy meal planning and prep is so key to keeping healthier eating on a budget, because if you prep your meals, you're going to save money, but also you're going to save time. And the biggest barrier sometimes we have to meals is the time that it takes. So we say, I'll just make it easy and order pizza, right? So healthy meal planning and prep helps. Here's a biggie. I think a lot of people I've talked to some of the people I work with, they don't really understand labels too well. They say, well, this is sugar-free. Can't be. Well, yeah, it is, but it's got carbohydrates. So understanding macros, carbohydrates, proteins, and fat, they always look at the sodium and things like that. Okay, I get it. But there's so many other things in here that you really need to focus on. Carbohydrates, protein, what percentage of carbs, what percentage of protein, what percentage of fat. But also the total caloric intake per serving is so important when you're eating healthy, because people get confused on it. So labels, understanding those. And that takes a little bit of, there's so much out there. Everything I'm talking about too, it's in my blog on this topic, how to eat on a budget. It's actually called, let me get the title here of my blog, Eating Well on a Budget, Smart Strategies for Gen Z and Millennials. And one of the things is in this blog is I have a bunch of links to everything I'm talking about. So if you want to understand how to read labels, food labels, it's all right there. There's so many barriers and so many need to discover solutions that maybe you haven't thought of before. One of the barriers for a lot of people is how to cook. And that's a big intimidation for a lot of people that are just starting out trying to do some meal prep and cooking at home more than eating out at the restaurants. And you'll discover from a budget standpoint, it's much smarter to do as much as you can from home, even when it comes to eating at work. If you can prepare that for your lunch, I did a whole video on this. It's going to be so much more cost effective. But missed solutions. One is the knowledge about some of the things that I just talked about, and two is really learning how to do some simple cooking. Now, we have a series about Elizabeth's Kitchen where she does a lot of things, Joe's Kitchen. So we do some fun things in here. You're going to see a lot more of that coming. Matter of fact, today, as you can see, my wife's prepping her sourdough bread. It's rising right now. She makes sourdough. She makes sourdough everything. Sourdough cakes. She makes egg muffins, and she makes hamburger buns. That's what she's into. But here's the point. We eat healthier because a lot of times if we're doing some sourdough, it's a little bit slower glycemic index. There's some other factors about it that we like besides the taste. So here's the thing now. You really got to identify what are your barriers. What's really holding you back from doing this? And if it's just a matter of getting some knowledge, there's so much out there on the internet and on our website, but online, there's so much about this right now. Let's talk about 3 ways to keep costs down. And then we're going to go into the final thing, which is, some things you need to do next. But these are 3 ways to keep costs down. One, again, is meal planning and batch cooking. Now, it's one thing to have a meal plan, especially when you go to the grocery store. It's another thing to do batch cooking. And I would really read up on this, because when it comes from a health standpoint, you're going to reach for things in the fridge, and you want to make sure the things that you're going to reach for that maybe is not going to take a lot of time. But if it's already done, you might grab that asparagus, or you might grab that broccoli because it's already cooked. So, but batch cooking is so important, especially if you're on a busy schedule, to eat healthier and eat on a budget, because you can make one batch that can last you all week. You can have it 2 or 3 times a week, whatever. One batch, that's huge. It reduces waste and costs. This is number 2 for how to keep costs down. Utilize affordable protein sources, and that includes beans, lentils, canned fish, meats, anywhere you can reduce there with some of your proteins, and then some of your less expensive cuts. If you learn how to cook them, which my wife's a genius at this, she can take a less affordable cut and cook it in such a way that you can cut it with your fork. So that's something that there's a barrier there that she overcame, because she says, I'm going to find out a way to feed, this is what we had, the 3 kids, how to feed the family for less. And now it's just her and I. She always is still not much want to go and spend a bunch of money on some meats that she can do herself and prep and make them better. So here's number 3 when keeping your costs down, besides affordable proteins or affordable protein sources. Shop seasonal and local. We try to shop seasonally to get the best prices on produce, because I love whole foods and fruits. I love them. Problem is, you pay a lot more for them certain times of year. So try to find a way to get that down by searching for seasonal sources and local sources. So hope that helps. And I'm just want to wrap this up by saying in this video podcast, always search first on RX Healthy Habits for a topic about what we just covered, because we have so much in there on macros like protein, carbs, fats. When it comes to reading a label, there's so much in there that I think if you go in there and look around a little bit, you can find some good things. But the solutions are there on our website and on our blogs. A lot of information, so much out there. But it comes down to you say to yourself, I'm going to get better at this. I'm going to really learn how to eat well on a budget, because you're worth it and the people you love are worth it. So hope that helps. And until next video podcast, stay healthy, stay strong, and find a way to really dial this in, because it'll change your life. God bless.